All right, let's kick off another deep dive. Today we're heading to Lagos, Nigeria,
Lagos, Nigeria.
a megacity, on the brink of
Yeah,
becoming the world's largest.
incredible.
And we've got a really fascinating scientific article that
Mm.
dives into the water scarcity issues in Lagos
Yeah.
and explores a potential solution called Managed Aquifer Recharge, or MARE.
Okay.
So, are you ready to explore whether this MARE solution can really quench the thirst of this booming metropolis?
Well, I'm ready to dive in. It's fascinating to see how Lagos's crazy rapid growth
Right.
is really pushing the limits of its water resources. And I think it's a story that resonates with so many other megacities all over the world.
You're right. It's pretty amazing when you think about it.
Yeah.
By the time our listener is kicking back, enjoying retirement,
Yeah.
Lagos could be home to more people than
Wow.
any other city on Earth.
Oh my God.
And it's
Wow.
growing at this insane rate, like 3.5% annually. And that puts a crazy amount of pressure on the city's water resources.
Yeah, absolutely.
So for context, that's faster than New York,
Wow.
LA, even Istanbul.
Wow. Okay.
It's just booming.
Totally. And, the current water situation in Lagos is already pretty dire.
Really?
Did you know that only 10 to 30% of the residents actually have access to public water?
Wait, seriously?
Yeah.
That's a shockingly low number. So how do the other, 70 to 90% of residents get their water?
Well, they rely heavily on private wells,
Ah, okay.
which, is kind of a recipe for problems in a way.
Yeah.
There were an estimated, get this, 200,000 private wells in use by 2017.
Wow, so Lagos is basically running on a network of unregulated wells.
Essentially, yeah.
That sounds like, I don't know.
Yeah.
There's got to be some risks associated with that, right? What kind of risks does that pose?
Well, you're spot on.
Yeah.
Reliance on unregulated water sources can lead to some pretty serious consequences.
Okay.
Think about the risks to public health. Contamination, inconsistent supply,
Sure.
and of course the potential for over-extraction.
Right, just using too much.
Exactly, which can ultimately lead to depletion of the resource.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So let's dig into this Emmer solution a little bit and
Okay.
see if it has the potential to address these challenges.
Right.
But first, can you give us a little crash course on what's happening underground in Lagos? What's the hydrogeology like?
Sure. So beneath the bustling streets of Lagos, there's this multi-layered aquifer system.
Okay.
It's kind of like, I don't know, like a complex geological cake.
Okay, I like that analogy.
We have alluvial deposits near the surface,
Okay.
then what's called the Upper Coastal Plain Sands, or UCPS.
UCPS, got it.
And then deeper down, we have the Lower Coastal Plain Sands, or LCPS.
Okay, so 3 layers of water-bearing rock.
Exactly.
What's so special about this layered system, and how does it play into, the water challenges facing Lagos?
Well, think of it this way. Those upper layers, the alluvial deposits and the UCPS, they're like a vulnerable sponge.
Okay.
They're highly susceptible to pollution
Sure.
from all the activities happening in the city above,
Yeah.
and also saltwater intrusion from the coast.
Okay, so using those upper layers for drinking water
Yeah.
might not be the best idea.
It's tricky.
What about that deeper LCPS aquifer?
So the deeper LCPS aquifer,
Yeah.
this is where things get really interesting.
Okay.
It's like a hidden oasis, almost.
Wow.
It's protected by this natural clay shield, so it prevents contamination from the upper layers,
Okay.
and it holds mostly fresh water.
So that deeper LCPS aquifer is like this protected reservoir of clean water.
Yeah, you could say that.
So could Mayor potentially tap into this protected resource?
Exactly. And that's actually a big advantage that many other cities don't have.
Okay.
The unique hydrogeology of Lagos
Yeah.
makes that LCPS aquifer
Right.
the prime target for MR.
But even with this protected aquifer, I imagine over-extraction could still be a problem, right? I mean,
Yeah.
we're talking about a megacity with millions of people.
You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
Overpumping groundwater, even from a deeper protected aquifer,
Right?
it can lead to, a whole host of issues.
Like what? Give us the, I don't know, the nitty-gritty.
Okay, so imagine, like, when you excessively pump water from an aquifer, it's like you're sticking this giant straw into a milkshake
Okay.
and just sucking it dry.
All right.
You create what's called a cone of depression.
A cone of depression. Okay, that sounds
Yeah.
kind of ominous.
It is a bit alarming, yeah.
What does that actually mean?
So it's basically a dip
Oh.
in the water table caused by too much pumping.
Right.
It's kind of like creating a sinkhole, but for water.
Okay.
And it could have cascading
What
consequences.
kind of consequences?
Well, for example, The land above can actually sink, which can lead to structural damage, flooding, and all sorts of problems.
Oh, wow.
Plus, it can cause salt water to intrude into those freshwater aquifers.
Right.
So it's,
So you're basically contaminating the water supply.
exactly, yeah.
That's a chain reaction I wouldn't want to be a part of.
No, definitely not.
And it sounds like this over-abstraction thing, it's not just a Lagos problem, right? It's happening in other cities around the world.
Sadly, yes.
Yeah.
Many megalacities are grappling with the consequences of overpumping their groundwater.
Well, can you give us some examples?
Sure, like Kolkata, Mexico City, Delhi, these are all facing similar challenges.
Okay, so it's a global issue.
It really is.
You know, it sounds like Lagos is at a pretty critical juncture.
Yeah.
They've got this huge water crisis on their hands, a rapidly growing population,
Mhm.
limited public water access.
Right.
So where do they go from here?
Well, there's hope.
Okay.
You know, this MAR solution we're talking about,
Mhm.
it could be a game changer.
Yeah.
It's a way to essentially recharge those aquifers, replenishing the water supply, and potentially mitigating the risks of over-abstraction.
Right. Okay, so let's talk more about this MAR solution.
Right.
Can you break down how it works and what makes it such a promising solution for Lagos specifically?
Sure. So at its core, MAR is the process of intentionally adding water to aquifers
Okay.
to replenish groundwater resources.
So it's kind of like
Yeah.
giving Mother Earth a giant 4V drip.
Yeah.
But instead of medicine, we're delivering water.
That's a great analogy.
But it's not just pumping water back into the ground, right? Like willy-nilly.
No, not at all.
How do you make sure it's safe and effective?
It's not as simple as just pumping any water back in.
Right.
We have to choose the right method based on the location, the hydrogeology, all sorts of factors.
Ah, so it's like tailoring a medical treatment.
Exactly.
Okay, tell me more about these different MAR methods and how they could be applied to Lagos's unique situation.
Well, there are several techniques, and the best choice really depends on the specific conditions. For example, we have infiltration basins
Okay.
and shallow wells, which are great for capturing excess stormwater.
So capturing rainwater and runoff before it disappears into the drains?
Exactly, yeah.
Okay.
And allowing it to slowly seep into the ground.
That sounds promising, especially for a rapidly urbanizing city like Lagos.
It is, and it's a great way to utilize a resource that would otherwise be lost.
Right, right.
Then there's a technique called bank filtration,
Yeah, okay.
where we purify water by drawing it from rivers through the riverbank
Ah,
and into the aquifer.
so it's like nature's own filtration system.
Exactly.
Are there any other techniques that might be suitable for Lagos?
Absolutely.
Hmm.
For areas where saltwater intrusion is a major concern, we can use deep injection wells
All right.
to pump treated water directly into those confined aquifers.
So we've got infiltration basins and shallow wells for capturing that surface water.
Yeah.
We've got bank filtration for purifying river water.
Hmm.
And we've got deep injection wells for replenishing those deeper confined aquifers.
Yeah.
That's a pretty diverse toolkit.
It is.
Which of these techniques do you think holds the most promise for Lagos?
It's tough to say, each technique has its own strengths and weaknesses.
Right.
The choice really depends on the specific location,
Okay.
the type of water available, and the hydrogeological conditions.
I see.
But I think a combination of these techniques,
Yeah.
tailored to different parts of the city,
Okay.
could be incredibly effective.
A multi-pronged approach.
Exactly.
So Lagos has this incredible opportunity.
Right.
They've got this deeper LCPS aquifer.
Yeah.
They've got a range of MAR techniques to choose from.
Hmm.
But where does all the extra water for recharging come from? I mean, Lagos is facing water scarcity, right?
That's a great point.
Yeah.
The source of water for MA is a key consideration.
Sure.
But what if I told you that Lagos might have an abundance of untapped water
Okay.
right beneath their feet?
Intriguing. What do you mean?
Well, there was this study by Olabode and Comte. They found that urban expansion in Lagos has led to a massive increase in runoff.
Runoff, okay?
In 2020 alone, they estimated that Lagos generated over 1.2 billion cubic meters of runoff.
Wow, that's a lot of water literally going down the drain.
Exactly.
And isn't that like more than double the
Yeah.
public water supply gap from back in 2010?
That's more than double, yeah.
That's a remarkable realization. So Lagos has this huge problem with runoff, but with MA, that problem could actually become part of the solution.
Precisely.
You're turning a liability into an asset.
Exactly. By capturing and treating that excess runoff, Lagos could potentially solve two problems at once.
Right.
Reduce flooding and replenish their groundwater resources.
It's a win-win.
It really is.
This is truly a light bulb moment.
Yeah.
I'm starting to see how Mara could be a game changer for Lagos,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm guessing it's not a simple fix, right?
Mm-hmm.
What are some of the challenges and potential downsides of implementing MR in a mega city like Lagos?
Well, you're right. It's not a silver bullet.
Yeah.
It's just one piece of a much larger puzzle
Okay.
when it comes to tackling Lagos water woes.
Like what?
Well, we need to consider a more holistic approach. For example, what about those 200,000 private wells we talked about earlier?
You mean those unregulated wells that are potentially contributing to the overextraction problem?
Exactly.
What can be done about them?
Regulating and monitoring those wells.
Okay.
It's going to be crucial for the long-term sustainability of any EVAR system.
Right.
We need to make sure we're not just replenishing aquifers while simultaneously depleting them elsewhere.
That's a good point.
Yep.
It's a delicate balancing act.
It is.
Are there any other aspects of this holistic approach that we should be considering?
Absolutely. We can't rely solely on technological solutions like MA.
Okay.
We also need to think about incorporating nature-based solutions, or NDS, to complement the process.
NBS, okay.
Yeah.
Can you elaborate on that a little bit?
Sure. NBS involve working with nature to manage water resources.
Okay.
Think about things like green spaces.
Permeable pavements, restoring wetlands. All of these things can help to naturally capture and filter rainwater,
Yeah.
which reduces runoff and helps replenish groundwater.
So instead of just focusing on the hardware of MANR, we also need to consider the software, the
Exactly.
natural systems that can work in harmony with MANR to create a more resilient water system.
Precisely.
Are there any examples of cities that have successfully implemented MBS?
Oh, absolutely. Cities like Berlin, Tianjin, even New York.
Okay.
They've seen great success with NBS.
Interesting. So Lagos could potentially look to those cities for inspiration.
Definitely.
So it seems like this multifaceted approach, combining MR with smart regulation and nature-based solutions,
Yeah,
could be a real recipe for success.
I agree.
But there's one more piece to this puzzle, right?
Right.
Governance.
Governance, yeah.
We need a robust framework
Mhm.
that ensures the long-term sustainability and equitable distribution of water resources in Lagos.
Governance, you mean like clear policies,
Yeah.
regulations, community involvement, that sort of thing.
All of that, yeah.
Why is that so important for May to be successful?
Well, without strong governance, even the best designed MAR system can falter.
Okay.
We need clear regulations to manage groundwater extraction.
Right.
We need guidelines for water quality.
Mm-hmm.
And we need a system for monitoring and evaluating the effectiveness of MAY over time.
I see. So it's not just about the technology. It's
Right.
about creating a system where Maya can thrive
Yeah,
and benefit everyone in Lagos.
exactly.
That sounds like a tall order.
It is a complex undertaking, but it's definitely possible.
Well, this has been an incredible deep dive so far.
Yeah, it has.
We've explored the challenges facing Lagos, the potential of Mayor as a solution, and the importance of this holistic approach that combines technology, nature, and strong governance.
It's all connected.
But we're not done yet. Stay tuned for part 2, where we'll unpack the potential risks and challenges of implementing MAIR in Lagos.
Looking forward to it. You know, we've talked about all the potential benefits of MAR for
Yeah.
Lagos, but as with any large-scale project like this,
Right.
there are always, challenges and risks to consider.
That's a good point, yeah. It's easy to get caught up in the excitement of a potential solution.
Right.
But let's get real for a second.
Yeah.
What are some of the biggest hurdles Lagos might face
Okay.
when trying to implement MIRAR?
One of the first things that comes to mind is public perception.
Okay.
Imagine trying to convince residents that the stormwater running down their streets, often carrying visible pollutants, could be treated and used to replenish their drinking water supply.
Yeah, I can see how that might be a tough sell. People
Yeah.
might be a little skeptical,
Right.
even fearful
Yeah.
of using treated stormwater for drinking water,
Exactly.
especially if they've already got, concerns about water quality in the city.
Absolutely. So addressing public concerns and building trust,
Right.
that's going to be essential. Lagos would need to invest in robust public education campaigns
Mhm.
to really explain the science behind MAR,
Sure.
the treatment processes involved,
Yeah.
and the safety standards that are in place.
Transparency is key, right?
Yeah.
Showing people the process, the
Just a-
data behind it,
Yeah.
so they can feel confident in the safety of the water.
Absolutely. Public engagement
Mm-hmm.
and open communication are crucial for building that trust.
Okay, so public perception is one hurdle.
Yeah.
What else?
Cost.
Okay, right.
Cost is another major factor.
Makes sense.
Implementing MAR, especially on a large scale, in a megacity like Lagos,
Yeah,
requires significant financial investment.
sure.
We're talking about building infrastructure, treatment plants,
Yeah.
monitoring systems.
Right, and Lagos is already grappling with, limited resources, competing demands.
Mhm.
How could they possibly finance a project of this magnitude?
It's a valid concern.
Yeah,
Securing funding from ARR will likely require a combination of things.
yeah.
Government investment,
Sure.
private sector partnerships,
Okay.
and potentially even international aid.
Okay.
It might also involve exploring innovative financing models,
Like what?
like green bonds
Okay.
or impact investing, which are specifically targeted toward environmentally sustainable projects.
Interesting. So it sounds like a creative approach to financing
Yeah.
is going to be necessary
It will.
to make Memere a reality.
I think so.
Are there any other potential roadblocks we should be aware of?
Well, we can't forget about the potential environmental impacts.
Okay.
During the construction phase of a mare,
Right.
building infiltration basins,
Yeah.
injection wells,
Hmm.
treatment plants,
Yeah.
all of that can disrupt natural ecosystems and lead to soil erosion, habitat loss, alterations in water flow patterns.
I see. So it's not just about the end goal of replenishing the aquifers.
Right.
It's also being mindful of the potential ecological footprint
Exactly.
during the implementation process.
Right. You got it. Thorough environmental impact assessments
Okay.
will be essential to identify potential risks
Sure.
and develop mitigation strategies.
What kind of mitigation strategies?
Well, for example, they might need to relocate certain species,
Okay.
restore habitats,
Right.
implement erosion control measures, things like that.
So minimizing the negative environmental impacts
Yeah,
while maximizing the positive ones.
exactly.
What about the actual operation of MA?
Okay.
Are there any potential risks or challenges once the system is up and running?
Yes, even with careful planning and implementation,
Yeah.
there are ongoing risks to consider.
Okay.
One is the potential for clogging
Okay.
or contamination of
Right.
the injection wells.
Clogging, I get. Like, over time, sediments and minerals could build up and
Sure.
block the flow of water.
Mm-hmm.
But contamination, I thought we were treating the water before injecting it.
We are, but there's always a risk of unforeseen contaminants
Okay.
or changes in water quality. That could compromise the system.
Like what? What kind of changes?
For example, industrial runoff
Okay.
or agricultural chemicals
Right.
could seep into the groundwater, even if they weren't present during the initial testing phase.
So continuous monitoring
Yes,
and adaptive management
very important.
will be crucial to address these potential issues.
Absolutely. Lagos would need to invest in a robust monitoring network
Okay.
to track water quality, injection rates, and groundwater levels.
Okay.
And they'd also need to be prepared to adjust the MO operations if any problems arise.
So being flexible and responsive.
Exactly.
Okay, that makes sense. It sounds like a lot of data.
It is.
And expertise are needed to make sure MERAR is operating safely and effectively.
Definitely.
Which brings us to another challenge,
Okay.
data availability and reliability.
Yes. To design and implement MA effectively,
Mm-hmm.
you need comprehensive hydrogeological data.
Sure.
You need to know the specific characteristics of the aquifers,
Okay.
the flow patterns,
Mhm.
the potential for contamination, and how the system might respond to different scenarios.
It's like trying to bake a cake without knowing the right oven temperature or baking time.
Exactly.
You need the right information to get the desired outcome.
Precisely.
But unfortunately, in many parts of Lagos,
Yeah.
detailed hydrogeological data is lacking
Right.
or outdated,
It's a common problem.
and this can make it challenging to predict
Yeah.
how the aquifers will respond to MA
Mhm.
and could lead to unexpected outcomes.
Definitely.
So Lagos would need to invest in more research and data collection
It would.
to fill those knowledge gaps.
Absolutely. And not just any data,
Right.
but accurate,
Yeah.
high-quality data.
Mm-hmm.
It's regularly updated.
Okay.
This is crucial for developing those reliable models
Right.
and making informed decisions about MAR design and operation.
It's like building a house on a shaky foundation.
Exactly.
You need a solid understanding of the underlying geology to ensure the long-term stability of the MR system.
I agree.
And then there's the wild card, climate change.
Ah, yes. Climate change.
How could I forget? Climate change seems to be a factor in almost every environmental challenge these days.
It really does.
How could it impact MR in Lagos?
Well, climate change is a major variable that
Okay.
adds complexity to the equation.
Yeah.
We're already seeing changes in rainfall patterns,
Mm,
increased frequency of extreme weather events,
right.
rising sea levels.
Sure.
All these factors can impact air in unpredictable ways.
So, for example, if rainfall becomes more intense and unpredictable,
Yeah,
it could affect the amount of water available from air, right?
exactly. And if sea levels continue to rise,
Yeah.
it could exacerbate saltwater intrusion into those coastal aquifers,
Right.
making it more challenging to maintain the quality of water used for Mar.
It sounds like Lados would need to design their MR system
Yeah,
with climate change in mind,
absolutely.
anticipating potential future scenarios and building in flexibility to adapt to changing conditions.
Exactly. They need to consider building in redundancies,
Okay.
like backup water sources or alternative injection sites.
Okay.
And they need to regularly reassess and update their M plan
Right.
as climate conditions change.
So it's a constantly evolving process.
It is.
Okay, so it's clear that MR is not a simple fix for Lagos's water
It's
woes.
not a quick fix, no.
There are numerous challenges and risks to consider,
Yeah,
from public perception and cost to environmental impacts and the uncertainties of climate change.
it's a lot to juggle.
It sounds like a complex balancing act.
It is complex, but I wouldn't say it's insurmountable.
Okay.
While acknowledging the challenges is crucial,
Yeah.
it's also important to remember that MR offers a unique opportunity for Lagos
Okay.
to build resilience in the face of water scarcity.
Resilience, you mean the ability to adapt and
Yeah.
thrive despite challenges. How does MR contribute to that?
Precisely. By diversifying water sources,
Okay.
replenishing aquifers,
Mm.
reducing reliance on overpumped groundwater.
Right.
Lagos can create a more sustainable and resilient water system for its growing population.
It's like creating a savings account for water,
Uh-huh. I like that.
ensuring that there's enough to go around,
Yeah,
even during times of drought or increased demand.
exactly. And this concept of water resilience,
Mm-hmm.
it's particularly crucial for a coastal megacity like Lagos,
Right.
where the impacts of climate change are already being felt.
Okay, so while acknowledging the challenges,
Yeah,
let's not lose sight of the potential benefits.
absolutely.
Magash could be a game changer for Lagos
It could.
if it's implemented thoughtfully and sustainably.
I agree.
What are some key takeaways
Oh,
our listeners should keep in mind as we move toward the final part of our deep dive?
Well, I think it's clear that Magash is not a standalone solution,
Okay.
but rather a crucial component of a holistic approach to water management in Lagos.
Right, it needs to be combined with smart regulation of those private wells,
Yes.
incorporation of nature-based solutions,
Absolutely.
and a robust governance framework to ensure that everything runs smoothly and equitably.
It all works together.
It's about weaving together technology, nature, and good governance
I like that.
to create a tapestry of water resilience for Lagos.
That's a great way to put it.
I'm ready to delve into the final part of our deep dive.
Me too.
Join us as we explore what the future might hold for May and Lagos,
Okay.
and what other cities around the world can learn from their experience.
Wow, we've covered a lot of ground in our deep dive into Lagos's water challenges and the potential of,
We have.
we've seen the stark reality of water scarcity in this, booming megacity,
It's intense.
the ingenious ways MR could help replenish their aquifers,
Yeah.
and, the complex web of challenges
Right?
they'll need to navigate along the way.
For sure. It's been a fascinating exploration.
It has. It really has.
From those, unregulated wells scattered throughout the city
Right.
to the potential of capturing and treating that immense amount of runoff.
Lagos's water story
Mm-hmm.
is full of twists and turns.
It is. And in this final part, I'm curious to hear your thoughts on what the future might hold for MR in Lagos.
Okay.
Do you think it actually has the potential to become a reality?
Mm,
Or will it just remain, a promising concept on paper?
that's the big question, isn't it?
It is.
I'm cautiously optimistic.
Okay.
I think Lagos is facing such a critical water crisis,
Right.
and the urgency of the situation,
Yeah.
it might be the driving force they need
Okay.
to embrace innovative solutions like Amer.
But it's not going to be easy.
It won't be easy,
No. We've talked about all the challenges, right?
right?
Public perception hurdles, the financial investments required,
Yeah.
the potential environmental impacts,
Right.
and, of course, the looming uncertainties of climate change.
It's a lot.
It's a tall order for any city,
It is,
let alone one grappling with the pressures of rapid urbanization.
for sure.
But you said you're cautiously optimistic.
I am. There are reasons to be hopeful.
Okay, like what?
Well, I think Lagos has a history of resilience
Okay.
and adaptability.
Mm-hmm.
They've overcome numerous challenges in the past,
Yeah.
and they're home to uh, a really vibrant community of innovators,
Right.
problem solvers.
They've got that can-do attitude, it seems like. They
There you
believe
go.
they can find solutions,
Yeah,
even in the face of, daunting
I
obstacles.
agree.
So what do you think will be the key to unlocking the potential of MA in
I
Lagos?
think it boils down to collaboration
Okay.
and a shared vision.
Mm-hmm.
It'll require strong leadership from the government, of course,
Sure.
but it can't be a top-down approach.
Right.
They need to bring everyone to the table.
Okay.
Scientists, engineers, policymakers, community leaders, residents, everyone.
A true partnership
Yeah.
where everyone feels invested in the success of MA.
Exactly. It's about creating a shared understanding
Okay.
of the challenges, the potential benefits,
Yeah.
the steps needed to make it work for everyone.
And that includes addressing those public perception concerns head on, right?
Absolutely.
They need to build trust
Yeah.
by being transparent about the science, the technology, the
Yes,
safety measures in place.
for sure.
Transparency is key.
It is.
It's about showing people the process,
Right?
the data, the evidence, so
Data.
they can feel confident in the
Yes.
quality and safety of the water.
And it's not just about providing information.
Right.
It's also about actively listening to people's concerns,
Okay.
incorporating their feedback
Mhm.
into the planning and implementation process.
It's about making people feel heard and empowered rather than just being told what's going to happen.
Exactly. That sense of ownership
Yeah.
and participation,
Mm-hmm.
it can be a powerful catalyst for change.
Okay. And alongside those public engagement efforts,
Yeah,
Lagos needs to invest in building the technical expertise
absolutely.
and capacity
Yes,
to implement and manage MAR effectively.
for sure. It's not just about the infrastructure.
Right.
Also about having the skilled workforce
Okay.
to operate and maintain the system,
Mm-hmm.
monitor water quality,
Yeah.
adapt to changing conditions.
They might need to, I don't know, send engineers and scientists abroad for training,
They might.
establish partnerships with universities,
Yeah,
research institutions,
for sure.
create incentives for young people to pursue careers in water management.
Those are all great ideas.
So it's a long-term investment,
It is.
not just in infrastructure, but also in human capital.
Yeah, it's about creating a legacy of knowledge
Right.
and expertise
Okay.
that will benefit Lagos for generations to come.
And speaking of long-term thinking,
Yes,
they need to integrate climate change considerations
absolutely.
into every aspect of MAR planning and implementation.
Couldn't agree more.
Climate change is, it's the ultimate wild card, right?
It is. It's the big unknown.
And Lagos needs to be prepared for the unpredictable.
Exactly. They need to design the MR system
Yeah,
with flexibility and adaptability in mind,
right.
anticipating potential changes in rainfall patterns, sea levels, water quality, you name it.
So it's not just about solving the current water crisis.
Right.
It's also about creating a system
Yeah.
that's resilient and adaptable enough to withstand future challenges.
It's about future-proofing Lagos's water supply.
I like that. It's about future-proofing.
Yeah.
And this concept of water resilience. It's something that I think other cities around the world can learn from Lagos's experience.
I agree. We've focused on Lagos,
Right.
but this story has global implications.
Yeah.
There are countless other megacities grappling with similar water scarcity challenges.
From Jakarta to Sao Paulo. That's a
Exactly.
global issue.
It is.
So what are some key takeaways
Okay.
that other cities could glean from Lagos's journey with MA?
Well, I think the biggest takeaway is the importance of that holistic approach.
Right.
MEMOR can't be a standalone solution. It needs to be integrated into a broader strategy
Yeah.
that considers the entire water cycle,
The whole system.
from source to tap and back again.
So it's about thinking beyond that immediate fix, right?
It is.
And looking at the interconnectedness of water resources, urban planning, and environmental sustainability.
That's all connected.
And that includes recognizing the social dimensions of water management, right?
Absolutely. It's not just about the technical aspects.
Okay.
It's also about engaging communities, addressing equity concerns, ensuring that everyone has access to safe and affordable water.
It's about creating a water-wise culture where
Yeah.
everyone understands the value of water and their role in protecting this precious resource.
I couldn't have said it better myself.
Lagos's water story,
Yeah.
it's a reminder that sustainable water management
Mhm.
requires a collaborative, innovative, and forward-thinking approach.
It does.
Well, it's been an incredible journey,
It has.
exploring the depths of Lagos's water challenges and the potential of a neighbor to transform their future.
I really enjoyed this conversation.
Me too. And as we wrap up this deep dive,
Yeah,
I'm left with a sense of, I don't know, hope and inspiration.
I agree.
It's clear that even in the face of these, complex challenges,
Yeah.
human ingenuity and collaboration can pave the way for a more sustainable and water-secure future.
It's a powerful message.
It is. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the fascinating world of Amer
Thanks for having me.
and its potential to quench the thirst of our growing planet.
Cheers to that.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep those brains bubbling.